Welcome to the Shirl and Shirley Show. Today, my guest is Holly. Holly and her spouse, they're full-time RV'ers, and I think that's kind of cool and thought that a lot of people out there would like to hear about it. She's going to tell us about some milestones that are coming up for them too. And we want to start off with welcoming Holly, asking her maybe like what got them started and how long ago they started. So welcome to the show, Holly.
Well, thank you, Cheryl. I know we've been talking about this for a while, just kind of putting it off. I'm glad this is a perfect time for us to have this conversation, try to share some of the information because we're pretty excited. September the 15th will be 2 years full time. We are just ecstatic about it. We have just had such a wonderful time, met so many amazing people. We are just loving it. Can't complain. We're very, very fortunate. Every other day, we just will sit there and say, can you imagine that we are really getting to do this? We just, it blows our minds. We're very fortunate.
And what you should say too is that you're a little bit younger than what a lot of RVers are. You guys started out earlier. They're going on their 2-year anniversary here, as well as hitting how many states, Holly?
On September the 15th, it'll be 40 states that we've seen. We've moved 100 times. That's a lot. Just with that, we've gotten to be pretty professional as far as getting all of our stuff to go and getting on the road again. It's a lot of fun.
Well, why don't you tell us how you got started doing this, what the steps were? I mean, I know you guys discussed this for a long time before you decided to do it. Then all of a sudden you had a whole lot happen to you, like, your last day at your job working full time, all of a sudden on the end of August or something, and then you go, boom, 15 days later, you got to be out of a large home. You got to figure that all out, and you're going to go into a 40-foot home that is much different than what you had. How exciting and how cool was that? And also how hard was that? Because a lot of people that do this, they sit and they think about it for a long time. And a lot of people have a home base, and that is your home. And then you guys pull a Jeep behind you and you guys take off and tool around everywhere in that Jeep. And I think that's kind of cool. I was going to ask you how many miles were on that. I'm not sure if you even know. I'm sure there's a lot of miles on it. So I'm going to let Holly tell you a little bit about how she started doing this. I think it's a pretty amazing story.
We have talked about doing the full time for probably 10 years. Years ago, we had gotten another one. We would only use it for the long weekends, going on vacation, but you can't go too far. And it does take a while to get there. It is pretty big, it's almost 40 foot. And we tow the vehicles. We were not getting enough use out of it. And we would have to have it in storage. And it was pretty pricey. We went ahead and sold that one. And then a few years later, we were just still talking about going full time. We'd love just to see the United States. And there's so much here that's so beautiful that we wanted to see. We finally decided on a date. It was kind of funny because my boss and I, we were the same age. He's like, well, you're going to have to give me 3 months notice. Give me 3 month notice. And I was like, I can do that. So when we finally decided on a date, I gave him my 3 months notice. We had our little plan about when we were going to put the house up for sale. My last day was August 31st, 2 years ago. JD had already been retired. He was ready. We put the house up for sale and it sold a little quicker than we thought within about a week. I retired on August 31st, the active sale on September the 15th. It was pretty much of a mad dash for that first 15 days of retirement, but we had been selling different things, putting it on Facebook Marketplace. We had garage sales, all of it. We went from 3,300 square foot to a little less than 300 square feet. The whole process of what do we sell? What do we keep and put in storage? And what do we take with us? The first year when we got back home, there was a lot that we took out and put back in storage. So our storage unit is very small. We sold all of our furniture. It was just the things that we kept that I just couldn't part with. For the most part, what we have with us is what we have. When we do land, they'll have to buy everything. Furniture, beds, the whole bit. It was a huge decision. It was the best decision for the two of us. We always tell everybody that you really have to like one another to be in such small quarters. It works great. We have a great time together. Of course, you have your own time alone. One's in the front watching the iPad, one's in the back watching their iPad, both watching Netflix, but watching what you want to watch. We make it work. We do miss family and friends. Tremendous.
Holly always gets a little emotional about that, and it is something to be emotional about. We only see him maybe once a year, and you never know what's going to happen or whatever between that. We all know that. Family is so precious. We spent a day yesterday with a bunch of us together and having a real good time at Fawn Creek Winery in the Dells area, and there was a big fundraiser for military families, which we appreciate that greatly. So shout out to Fawn Creek for doing that. And what they're doing is a fabulous and very interesting, and we're kind of living precariously through them as they're doing it. We'll see the pictures and we'll see where they are. And she always sends little messages about where they're going to be and how long it takes them to get there. And that's one of the things that's amazing about them moving 100 times, because mainly what they try to do is they try to just drive about 4 hours each time. They try not to go any more than that. Sometimes they have, but most of the time it's just moving to like a 4-hour place and then investigating that area. And that's probably why they've hit so many states too. So it's kind of cool. And I want her to tell us one of her favorite areas. I know she has a lot of them because we saw pictures along the way. The last one, I think, Maine, was beautiful. And so was the Finger Lakes area in New York. But I really wanted to tell you about that special place she went to in Maine. That was kind of cool with the sun, but also just the traveling around and how you meet so many different people. And now they have contacts from people that are all over the place that maybe they will spend Thanksgiving with or something like that. You never know where they're going to meet them. It could be Atlanta or it could be wherever. So that's kind of cool too. And I'd love to know what it's like to go through interstate in a major city. That's got to be fun with construction and all. On their way to Wisconsin, they went through Chicago. That had to be interesting. First, Holly, I want you to talk a little bit about your favorite place. Like, I'm sure each place has something special. And I know she has on bucket list national parks. So that's kind of cool too.
Yes, we had spent about a month in Maine, and it was just wonderful. We had no clue how gorgeous it actually was. Photos, anything, it just does not do it justice. And we had such a wonderful time there. We were in the farthest, most eastern part of Maine. We stayed in Lubbock. That was just such a beautiful little fishing town, but it was just so nice. We had such a great time there. It's one of the places where the tide goes the farthest out, and it was 28 feet between 9 a.m. and noon. We tried to walk out to a lighthouse there, and it got a little bit to be too muddy, so we had to turn around and walk back. And when we were walking back, the water was following us, so we kind of got a little quicker in our steps there. Pretty cool. Also in that area, that's where you can go and see the sunrise. You're the first people that see the sunrise in the United States. That was pretty neat. That morning, it made it even more special. There was a couple right in front of us that got engaged. It was so cute. Really nice. And no, we loved that. Loved Rhode Island. Rhode Island was the first place that we had ever gone to where I could actually see waves hitting the rocks. We've always gone to the beach in Florida and things from being down south, and that was always so beautiful. Just to be able to see the waves crashing on the rocks, that was just incredible. Out west, I think my favorite place was the Tetons. It was just breathtaking. The mountains, early in the morning, we would go on hikes and it would just be so beautiful, so surreal. JD, his favorite was Yellowstone. He thought that was just the best thing. So we both have different little things that we've enjoyed along the way. It's pretty incredible.
I think it's kind of an exciting lifestyle to have at your ages. I think a lot of people that are maybe in their 70s and 80s doing it, it's got to be really hard. Just setting up, getting prepared to move again, keeping track of all of that. The other thing we need to talk about is how you do this planning. You really got to start out, like right now, you already have your plans up till spring, but I heard you guys talking yesterday about where are we going to go after this? We got to head out this way. We're going to head west, and planning part of it is very interesting. The apps that you have. Another thing is talk about your home base, because your home now, Florida. Interesting that you have a place there that you get your mail and then they follow you guys kind of around where you are and send your mail to you. So that's kind of interesting, and had to be a little bit weird going to that. You're not getting mail at your house every day or something. So now what, do you get a box of mail? I mean, I kind of thought about that a few times. What do you get? Do you get a packet of mail? Do you not have any more of that crazy mail that you have to deal with all the time? And see, that's something that I would love.
Yeah, we do not get junk mail at all. So part of the process getting ready for this, we did a lot of research on mail services. So there are so many people that do the same things that we do. So you can be a resident of Florida, South Dakota, and I think it's Texas, to where you can be a resident, but you don't have to have a home there. Also in Florida, there's no state tax, which is wonderful. At this point, even though, I grew up right outside of New Orleans, JD grew up in North Louisiana, we are now residents of Florida because that's where the mail service is that we pick. So the mail service is my RV mail. Every day we get an email, photograph, a scan of whatever mail had come in the day before. In that month, every month you have 4 scans. You can go ahead and have them scan the contents of it. The next day you'll get it. We very seldom do that because we pretty much know what's coming in. We never get junk mail. We never get magazines or anything like that. Just the more important things. If we are someplace for a little while, like we were here for a while, we went ahead and had our mail sent to us. We just do a 2-day FedEx and we get it. And that's been wonderful. A lot of times we'll call ahead at a place and say, hey, able to get a package there. And they're, of course, we've never really had anybody say no. It's been very, very easy, especially now with voting coming about. We're able to we're Floridians, we're going to vote Floridian, be able to get our absentee ballots in, just mail those in. So that's really good as well. For planning, we use RV Trip Wizard. That is an app amazing for anybody that just wants to go on a small weekend trip getaway. JD always laughs. It's like, oh my gosh, she's going to do her spiel now, because I'm just like a walking little commercial on it. It saves so much time. It has any place and every place that has RV camping. It could be a state park, a national park. It even has the Loves where you can go and stay in their parking area on there too, that is populated. We go ahead at this time. We have reservations almost through the end of March. We go on here. You can put the radius, how far you want to travel in a day. So we normally only travel 3 to 4 hours because when you're traveling and you're driving something so long, it is stressful. So we try to do no longer than 4 hours a day. On here, we'll decide, like right now, we want to go back to Glacier next year. We're figuring out the route. Then after we go home for the holidays outside of New Orleans, we'll go to Florida, spend a little time there. Then we'll just start heading across and we want to stop right outside of Phoenix and then go on up towards Glaciers. We have the route that we want. Now it's just to pick a couple of them. So what we normally do is I'll pick 2 places very close to one another. I'll go 4 hours, pick a couple of places there to make sure it's different things that we might want to see. After I do that for a few different spots, JD will come and sit down then and he'll look at the 2 and he'll pick out which one he likes the best, pick the spot that he likes. And what's kind of fun about the RV Trip Wizard is they have a little note section. So I always write our confirmation number, the date I made the reservation, who picked the spot, because that's very important. After we get someplace, well, who picked this spot? This is terrible. This is terrible. And it's like, no, you picked this one. That can be kind of fun. That has saved us tremendously. We'll have on our rainy days, we'll call it our planning day. We just sit there and get out the computer and pull up RV Trip Wizard and fool with it a little bit. The majority of them, you can make the reservations online. Every once in a while, you have to call. It makes it really easy. Like right now, if I pulled up my RV Trip Wizard for the year, it even keeps track of the mileage for the year, also how much we spent. It just breaks it down. You can even put in the price of gas and how much. I mean, it gives you so many different details for it, but we don't use all that. I just try to keep track of what we're spending. For the most part, we try to do 2 weeks very conservative, spend less money, another 2 weeks in the month, maybe go to someplace a little nicer and we'll have concrete pads, might have a swimming pool or just the different amenities that we like.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty cool. These apps and stuff, you talk about host places you stay at, something different. I would have never known anything about that. And the host places are kind of interesting too, because it's usually at a winery or a brewery or something. That's the other thing to think about too, is they usually look for places that have water hookup, electric, internet. You can get internet access, and you guys did something different on your internet access stuff too. Talk a little bit about the hosting and then maybe about your, what you call amenities, but all of us call normal stuff at home. Because, internet service, I mean, you know this as well as I do. In a lot of places, like maybe in Maine, there might not have been places where your cell service and all this kind of stuff works. That's kind of interesting too, and going to somewhere new all the time. The host services, I think that was kind of cool when you told me about that. And that's something that a lot of people would never think about or know about. Share that.
The website in the app, it's called Harvest Host. This has been so much fun for us. So if we're going to get to a certain place, we only want to spend a night somewhere in that direction, we'll pull up Harvest Host and pull up our starting point and our ending point and look to see what type of harvest hosts are in that area. They'll have people's personal homes that'll do it, that they might have an electrical hookup that you can spend the night in their yard. We've never done that. They have a lot of churches, Elks Lodges. We've never done any of those. but our favorites are the wineries, the breweries, there's museums. One of our favorite places was an alpaca farm in Utah. We had the best time there. For about 45 minutes, she gave us a lesson on all about alpacas. We had no clue. Then we got to go out and feed them, and we just had the best time there. They were just wonderful. We've stayed on a ranch in the middle of nowhere. We were the only ones there. It was getting a little creepy at first driving out there, and it's like there's nobody here. And I had talked to the owner, and he's like, "Oh, just pull in there. Y'all are going to be all by yourselves." And we got there, and it's like, oh my goodness. But it was amazing. We were surrounded by mountains in Wyoming. It was just beautiful. That was really neat. You just never know. And we've met some of the coolest people there as well. We just have a great time. Right before we got here, we stayed at a winery, and that was a lot of fun. Most of the time, they don't have any hookups. You just are parking in a little field or in their parking lot. We do have a generator at night. Then we'll just click on the generator real quick, make sure that our fridge has got a good charge. And if we need a little bit of AC or something like that, we'll run the generator for a little while. When we talk about amenities, we have to have 50 amp. A lot of places only have 30 amp, but that's for the smaller ones. We need 50 amp for the electricity. We like to have water. We do have water on board. So most of the time, if we're going to spend the night, we don't hook up our water because we have a reserve. Then sewer, of course, you just dump every few days. The good part is we are very, very fortunate to have a washer and dryer. It's very small. It's a little stackable. What you might do in one load, it'll take me 3 to 4 loads. It's time consuming. We're very, very fortunate to have that. We'll go ahead and just make sure that the gray tank is open, and that way we don't have any incidences to where overflow. Yes, that has happened once, and we were just mortified. It was definitely a learning lesson, but knock on wood, it's only been once and we won't happen again. Accidents happen. We're human. It is a lot to keep up with.
It's basically maintaining your home. You're maintaining your home, and that's part of it. One thing that JD mentioned to me was the maintenance. That you guys have to make these certain stops. You have to find the places that have the maintenance available for an RV like this. He was saying to me, it's not just a stop, Cheryl. This is one of those things where oil change can be $1,000. Holy $1,000. And he's like, yeah, he goes, what I had to do is I had to put the number out of my head. I just had to realize this is a RV. This is our home. So we have to maintain it just like you maintain yours. And it's true. The maintenance stuff and how you plan that. I mean, you kind of fit that in with when you guys are going around maintenance. At least I know once a year, probably more than that. There's a place that you talked about in Alabama. And one other thing that I wanted to mention before that too, and I don't want us to forget, is you told me about this one cave place you went to. It had a bar or something in it. And you guys had to go on that drive. Yeah, I went to Alabama. Yeah, it was. And then the coon dog cemetery. These are things that are interesting because who would think there would be a coon dog cemetery in the middle of nowhere? And then you guys talk about the monuments and stuff that they had. These people really care about their dogs, and we all care about our animals, dogs, cats, everything. It's amazing to me to think that there's like a coon dog cemetery somewhere in the middle of wherever. The maintenance part is super important for people to understand. And that's even when you have just a camper you're pulling around with a truck and stuff. Everybody knows they have to maintain care of and what they're driving around. Even the cars. Anytime I think about it, and my app says, hey, you need to get an oil change, Cheryl. So it's kind of nice that I have that, but I don't know if yours has that. I'm sure it does. $1,000 for an oil change would give me a shock. So yeah, maybe talk about how you plan that and if it's just once a year or twice a year or how you do that.
Oh, JD is so good. We have a spreadsheet, 3 months, we'll do the water filters. Every 6 months, he does certain things. On a yearly, we go to Red Bay, Alabama. That's the manufacturer for the Tiffins. So our type of coach that we have. Red Bay is a very small town. The majority of the people work at the manufacturer. They do all the service, but there's so many people that live there that have worked there before, but now they just work in their own businesses. So that's what we do now. We'll go there and we've got 20 days. This will be in October, and in November we'll be there. JD has already made appointments with all these different people. We have our hot water is an aqua hot. He's got an appointment for somebody to service the aqua hot, that it's running properly. And because this is something that we're using every single day. There's just so many different things that with the appointments that are taken care of. So it'll be a busy time when we're there. And then once a year we go and we have the chassis serviced. This year we'll do that again in Fort Worth on the maintenance. It's a big portion of making sure that it's all taken care of, everything working the way it should be. You should just never know. Accidents happen, and we just try to do everything that we can to prevent accidents. So when we go back to Red Bay, Alabama, they have a list list of all the different little things that you can do there, but there's not much to do there at all. We try to make the best of it. First time we went, they said, "Oh, you have to go to the coon dog cemetery." And we both kind of just looked at each other and rolled our eyes. We were bored, so we took a ride out there. It was amazing. When we pulled up, they had 5 other cars in the parking lot. There was even somebody under a shelter doing a podcast
Oh, cool.
on the coon
I would
dogs.
do it.
So you're just walking around the monuments for these dogs. These dogs were from all over the country. It would be owner, oh, Mr. Smith, dog, this name, how many awards that he had won. Then it would be a whole line of like the same owner and the different dogs, how many awards that they had won. And they were just huge. They were taller than us.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool then. People would leave coins like pennies, dimes, quarters on there just to let the owners know when they came back to visit that other people have been there,
That's cool.
to pay their respects. That was pretty neat. A wonderful experience. When we went back the second time, we went back again and just kind of walked around. It was in the middle of nowhere. That was such a cool experience. We kept on hearing about this place. It was called Rattlesnake Saloon. And it's like, well, that just doesn't sound fun. Rattlesnake saloons. But everybody's like, you got to go. You got to go. We park in the parking lot. You have to wait for a pickup truck to come and pick you up. You go ahead because you can't take your vehicle down the hills. We wait. We all get into a back of a pickup truck.
That sounds fun.
And it's got these big tires on it and it's loud. We're all sitting there. All these adults were going down this road and it's got all these rivets in it. We're just like bouncing everywhere. And all of a sudden we get down there and it's like, oh my goodness. It was the coolest thing. It was a restaurant that was in a partial cave in the side of this mountain. It was the coolest thing. They had another building built into the side of the mountain as well. And that was a restaurant. You could go sit inside. They had a bar. It's very rustic. It was pretty cool. But we just sat outside underneath this little cave. They had live music. It was a very, very cool experience. Then you had to get back into the truck, wait your turn to get back in the truck and go up the mountain. It was pretty comical. I don't know how many people know this. We had just learned this a couple of months ago. If you open your Google map, and at the top, we always use grocery store, different things, click on the more button. They have one that says attractions. If you hit that, you can find the most interesting things that are just close to you that you didn't know were there. One day we did it and it's like, oh, there's a waterfall 2 miles away. It was a wayside. It was absolutely gorgeous. We would never have seen that. One day he was getting gas in the rig and I hit it and I started laughing and it was the largest zipper in the country. Oh my gosh, that was so funny. And we could go see that. It's only 3 miles away, but we both passed on it. It was made out of cinder blocks. Thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, the things that people think about. Oh yes, the tallest file cabinet. That was hysterical. It was in a parking lot of an office building. Yeah. It was just all these file cabinets stacked on top of each other and all painted different colors, rusting away. And so that was hysterical. Of course we had to go see it.
I would too.
You just never know what you're going to find.
Well, you guys have hit a lot of historical places too, a lot of forts and a lot of things like that all along the way.
Yep. JD's favorite thing, he is such a history buff.
Yeah,
He reads, it's his thing. I'm like going to Gettysburg. It had been on his bucket list for so long. That was truly an amazing place. We spent a lot of time there. If there's a fort to be seen, we've seen it. It's pretty neat. We've seen reenactments. It's a lot of fun. So that's his big thing, is wherever we can go for history and just to see things, since he's read about it for so long. It's kind of cool to watch him. He was just like a kid in a candy store.
Sort of like you are in the glass factories. We hear about that too, that she might get dropped off at a glass factory and JD goes and does his thing, or he'll sit somewhere and just watch her go through this glass factory. Or the rocks, that's another one, right? I know you like that a lot. And you've been to a couple of different places and you send pictures. They're beautiful. I mean, they're really cool.
Yeah, that's been a lot of fun. So we pretty much, we got to spend the whole day at the fort, and he goes, well, I guess I'm going to have to go geological museum and things like that. And one of my just favorite things is just to see geodes. And for me, it just takes my breath away that God is just so good. He works in amazing, amazing ways. That's been a lot of fun. If I can go to a blown glass. One of my favorite things on Netflix is Blown Away. Last month, we were able to go and see the glass museum, and I was able to see some of the blown away exhibits there. That was pretty intense. I like that. He did sit in the parking lot because it was, they said that it normally takes you 3.5 hours to tour the whole museum. So he's like, you don't mind if I pass on this? He was a good sport. He passed on it, but I enjoyed it very much. So we do have different interests. I think that's healthy too. We have to have that.
I think it's very healthy. Well, Holly, we're coming up on about 40 minutes. Isn't that crazy? It goes by so fast when you're talking about stuff that you like. I would probably say we're going to do this again. We're going to talk a little bit more as you go through your 100 days. And well, maybe we'll set something up to do when you're around the fam, as you'll need some time away from that too, as we all know. What would you leave people with thinking so far, what you guys have been through? To me, it seems like you guys are very happy doing what you're doing. I don't see that changing anytime soon. So there's a lot of people out there that kind of think of this. It's a dream in their head. They think about, should I do something like that? What would be an encouragement that you could tell them on your experience? Because I know you say all the time, you feel like you're very blessed. You feel like you guys are blessed to be able to do this at this time in your lives. We all have stuff in our homes and stuff, but honestly, it's just stuff. It's not really what it's about. It's about seeing adventure, family, and all that. And you're lucky enough to have family spread out a little bit too. Yeah, maybe just tell people what is like the part that makes you want to continue to do it. That if you can dig deep and get that. I do think that you're right. It takes two people that can get along to do it. We've talked about this before too, that when you go somewhere, I don't know anybody, even in a campground, you don't know anybody. You get to meet so many different people from all over, but it takes a lot to get out and go do that. Meeting people, and then you're there for a week or two, and then all of a sudden it's see ya. It's yeah, and you never see them again or something. So it's kind of interesting. And I would think that would be, would affect me too. It's nice that we have FaceTime. You have all kinds of things now that we can stay in touch with family. But I would say, like, what's something that you can leave people with that would be, if you're really considering something like this, do it. Sometimes you got to take the risk or someone else will. Kind of what I think about in my head when I make major decisions. It's sort of like, this is taking a risk, Cheryl. Doing a podcast, you're taking a risk. But, sometimes you got to just do it. See what happens. I know I put a lot in there, but I'm sure you can interpret some of it.
Well, during all of our conversations, it got to the point where JD is like, well, if we're going to do it, when are we going to do it? We talk about this. Let's just do it. We just made it happen. So if any type of thing that you want to do in your life, you just have to put your desires there. We both wanted the same thing. We both wanted just to experience more. And we were able to take the risk, because you know what? If it doesn't, life is happening so quickly. If you don't like it, all you have to do is go back, buy a house, just do it with anything. If it's going to make you happy, give you a better quality of life, that's what we really strive for, is just trying to make the most out of everything. We are a little younger to be doing this. So many of the people that we see are older, and we don't want to be those older people struggling and struggling. So we know by watching our parents what life's going to come is that we're going to be sitting in front of the television, and that's fine. That's fine. We want to have these memories now that we did do what we always talked about, what we wanted to do. So if I could say anything, just go for it. Go for it. Have the faith in yourself, because you can do it. You can definitely do it. He says all the time that he wouldn't be able to do this without me. I could never do it without him. It's a lot to do. One person. It's best, the two people, and it's wonderful.
Well, thank you, Holly. This wasn't too bad of an experience. I am going to leave one little sentence here just for JD. It would be really great if you would come on a cruise with all of us next year. You can find a place to park your home. It wouldn't kill you. 1 week. That's all we're asking. We love you, and we want you to be with us. All right, I'm going to say bye to Holly. I'm going to let her say a last word. So it was good having you on. Thank you very much. And I do want to stay in touch doing this more and more so we can keep people out there hearing other places that you're going to. Because honestly, 40 states in 100, moving is a lot. And I think it's kind of a cool thing that you guys are doing. And we're very proud of you. And, we see that it has been very good for both of you. Very good. And I will say that to JD. It's been very good for you, JD. Keep it up.
It's just your adventure awaits. So you just have to go and make your own adventure. That's what we're doing. We don't have any regrets whatsoever. Like I said, we miss our family and friends. For right now, this is what we need to do for us. And we are truly blessed. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for wanting to do this. And I do look look forward to doing it again. Maybe next time we'll get JD's perspective because it is, talking to different people. But thanks a lot. I've enjoyed this very much.
See, it wasn't too bad. Thank you very much for listening to the Cheryl and Shirley Show. Make sure you check us out on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can find me just about anywhere on any podcast host. You will hear more from the RV'ers. I think maybe I'll give them some kind of a name. I'll come up with something for the title, and that's what we'll call them from now on when we're doing the podcast. But I will keep up with them. And I appreciate you listening. Make sure you like and share. And if you want to leave a comment, please do. Have a great day.